Okay, thank you for joining us out here. I hope you will come out for the Common Law Wise Words chat on TalkShoe this evening. I hope and look forward to actually having a really good time. So the first thing I would like to talk about, because once that's over, I hope that this is done and over. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is 3 years ago, I protected Sean when one of his best friends named Jeff was going to release a lot of very damaging audio against Sean. And I protected him in a way that's very much the same kind of way that I'm performing law right now. So a lot of me feels kind of bad and kind of guilty for stopping the public from knowing the truth. Okay? With that being said, I was told by my creator to do what I'm doing. Plain and simple. And I hope people can understand that. And the reason why I'm so upset about JJ taking down the video that was on his Odyssey channel is because I fundamentally look at that as a huge piece of evidence, because the video on the Odyssey with the server mess up that happened started right when Joni asked Sean the question that she asked him. And when I'm done with this kind of short presentation, I'm going to have a couple of clips of what this is all about so that everybody can know. And hopefully you'll know before tonight's call. Now, a lot of people are having issues, and I'm hearing about them because I'm very thankful for the people who will call me or communicate with me about their issues. And one of the main things that I'm hearing is about the conflict and the conflict that's being caused and stirred up. And all I can really say about that is that my entire show, everything I teach, law, it's all about conflict. If there is no conflict, you don't have a reason for court. And court is when conflict cannot be handled in the private, so it has to be brought to the public. And, wait just a second. And, so I don't necessarily see the problem with conflict. What I do see a big problem with is unresolved conflicts, because then it leads to something blowing up way out of proportion because of emotions. And another reason why I believe this has to be brought out to the public is so that the public can be well informed. There is a divide going on. You know, like, the other side is basically saying that I'm trying to limit free speech and get people to self-censor, and, you know, that they're just coming at it from love and light, and I should be working it out in private. And then I'm making it public because I wish for you to all be informed of what's actually going on so that you can make an intelligent and informed decision moving forward with your life and with who you wish to learn law from. Like, who do you feel more comfortable learning law from? Because everybody has feelings. Everybody has feelings, and both sides should be heard. That's kind of the point of court, is so that both sides can be heard. And without people understanding where I'm coming from and having a good understanding of where they're coming from, then no conflicts will be resolved. And, you know, in a lot of ways, it's like both sides should be heard, but Joni hasn't been heard for a long time now because she feels like if she tries to be heard, she'll feel attacked. She'll be attacked. And, I mean, I think that is kind of somewhat evident. Now, I don't see what the problem is. I don't see why people have a problem with me doing what I'm doing, considering what I'm doing is a lawful process And I have come up with very creative ways of trying to handle this situation and take care of it in law and try and teach people law at the same time. That's a very difficult thing to do, especially with conflicts between quote unquote family members. At the same time, there are just certain ways that you do not treat quote unquote family members. And in a tribe, everybody has an input. It's like try B, try all. See, there are certain reasons why I use certain words, and I hope that everybody knows and understands that. And the whole reason why it's so important for people to vote on the difference between right and wrong is because that's how a tribe sets up what its moral values are, is by saying, okay, that is wrong, that is right. One of the big reasons why we're kind of in this predicament, and I talked about this all summer, is that people, and there are not enough people who are willing to stand up for what is right against what is wrong for whatever reason, because they don't wish to be in the middle of the conflict. Anyways, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoy this little clip, and I hope that everybody comes out and participates on the show tonight. I'll have a link and description below. So thank you for joining me on this journey, and hopefully this part of the journey will be over soon and I can get back to doing things like saving people's property and making sure the state doesn't come and take children and making sure that people don't get robbed, And I still have personal things that I wish to talk about as well, about kind of other groups where I actually see this exact same situation kind of going on and it's being handled way differently, which is what makes it kind of emotional, but also where I see the creator's timing as being very perfect. So, and another thing that I kind of wish is that I see as kind of evidence is when that argument started on Telegram, I had no clue that the one gentleman was telling JJ that he was obviously not JC. When I started that, I was just making a comment about JJ saying that he upholds the rights of all mankind when I just got censored. That I didn't read the other part until later, and I just feel like it's a sign, but that's just me, that's just my opinion. Anyways, sorry everybody for causing this controversy. Sorry for trying to teach everybody how to hold court amongst ourselves. Sorry for everything that I could have done. I just wish to say that I was honest about it 100% from the beginning. And has everybody else been? Anyways, one world, love, and peace. Well, there's a couple of things that I would like to say about that. I'm going to first address kind of like the thing you were talking about with rights, because I see this as kind of a huge problem, not just a huge problem, but also a huge accepted violation of rights from both sides of the political spectrum. But, if you are in an argument with somebody in the political spectrum these days, just like you said, you don't have the right to call somebody a moron. Like there are certain fundamental principles of a civil society that should be respected. Like you should not call somebody a moron. Now you might not.
No, I didn't say that. I said you can have a view, and I have a right to tell you. I have the right to tell you you are a dumbass.
I don't think you have the right to tell me I'm a dumbass from my view. I think you have a right to disagree with it. But as soon as you start attacking somebody else, it's kind of like what we've always talked about. As soon as somebody starts using ad hominem for their argument, for their reasoning, which is basically the way that I view that, then they've lost the argument. and then you're no longer in a civil debate. You're basically in a childish rant. And what I see is people who used to get along. Like I'm creating a video about this right now about the intellectual dark web people, and they used to get along, and they would have intellectual debates on the internet because mainstream society was not having it, and now they're divided over the COVID vaccine. Okay, 100%. And one side is completely attacking the other, calling them moronic, stupid. They must be schizophrenic because 1% of the population is schizophrenic. No, I don't think that's right. And in fact, in a lot of ways, in real law, like especially on their kind of level, that's slander. That's slander and defamation of character.
Yeah, but I wasn't suggesting it from that perspective. It's like if I come in and I tell you, hey, just wanted to let you know, man, you've been telling everybody 1 + 1 is 3. Here, look right here in this book. It says 1 + 1. See, this is 2. See the math, and you go, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell everybody anyway. I'm going to go, well, then you're a dumbass.
Okay.
And that's not slanderous. You're a dumbass.
Well, and I mean, in that
And I have the
particular
right.
case,
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
in that particular case, I'm going to agree with you. But what
Well,
I'm
like
saying,
Biden's smart. No, he's not. You're a dumbass.
what I'm saying is that you have arguments
Bill Gates is a
online.
good guy. No, he's not.
You have arguments online. You have arguments between family members, and the topic is so controversial to them that genuinely, normally good people justify the excuse to lose all manners, to quit acting like a man or a woman to the people that they love and care about because of these politicized ideas. And that's absolutely wrong. I don't care how you wish to really break it down or put it. It is wrong to behave that way, and it's morally and the social fabric of society kind of wrong. And as long as people are behaving that way, we're never going to move forward. It's just like when I was on the stand up in Tennessee. It's like, why did I come here? Why did I choose? Because the biggest choice I really kind of had in my mind, waiting to go onto the stand after I had been subpoenaed, was, well, if they're not going to offer me fair and just compensation, do I just leave? I mean, I'm well within my right. If they don't offer, if they don't, if I require fair and just compensation and they don't hand anything over and they say they're not going to, I'm well within my right to leave. But was I going to? And the conclusion that I had come to before I even got up on the stand was, no, I wasn't going to do that. Like, I was going to trap them in every possible way, to where, just like I said before I got on the stand, like, okay, I'm going to do this under duress, because if I'm doing this under duress, and I can reasonably say that this is under duress, because even though Ash wasn't forcing me to do this, the threat of 6 other police officers on rotation in there, all with guns, who would do whatever Ash told them to do and didn't even have to make it in order, puts me under duress. 100%. I don't think anybody could argue with that. And so, but the real reason I decided to stay and testify is because we have to have an open conversation to move forward. If I would have walked out, then Ash would have looked at me as an enemy, and he probably would have had me arrested. And the fight, there would have been more controversy, there would have been more conflict, and it wouldn't have really gotten resolved. And by staying in there, by going on the stand, I don't necessarily think that the entire conflict got resolved, but I think it helped show a different side. Just like Sean said to me on the phone before I even went in there, he was like, well, I guess you're going to go in there and testify and, tell them your point of view, like, talk from your heart, and hope that it does something. And I genuinely feel like it did do something, because I got to walk out of there without being in handcuffs.
Well, just so I'm clear, basically what I was saying was I have a right to disagree. But yeah, like, if I went up to a transsexual pedophile and he was arguing his point of view, I would tell him he's a dumbass. And I think he should be eliminated. Like, there's no point. There's no point for that person to draw oxygen. You understand? So that's what I was saying. But I don't, man, you've been in enough arguments, just you and I. I don't use ad hominem. But if I call somebody a dumbass, they probably had it coming.
Okay, when he comes back, I have a question for him. But while I have the floor, I'd like to say something, and that is, it feels good to be back. I've been gone for a few weeks. It's been a hell of a year. Just want to let you all know that I had that accident where a horse landed on me and laid me up in bed for weeks, and then starting to feel better, and then JC comes down with C19, and the next day it wham hit me like a ton of bricks. So we both were in bed talking to each other a few hundred times a day to make sure we both were alive. So I just wanted to really thank a bunch of people, and I've got a bit of that brain fog still going on, and but I really wanted to thank my girlfriend Melody, Nika. Nika came by and came and threw some things on my deck and took off. I was able to talk to her from the window. I didn't really want anyone to come near me anyway. I don't think anyone wished to come near me. Early on, I got to talk to Christine, and then, of course, Mia and Lisa, Sanity Call, gave just a tremendous amount of information and gifted John and I with some things that really assisted in helping us to get better really quickly. We had a good conversation with Dr. Epstein. I really enjoyed at times when I was able to have my eyes open. There's that JD's got that Cave Breaker Health Lounge, which was awesome. Eric was terrific. Mindy, I got some really good text and different phone calls, and Monarch, Tara just checked in. A few people were able to check in, make sure I was still alive. So I really just publicly wanted to thank each and every one of you, and if I forgot anyone, blame it on the brain fog from recovering from this horrible thing that knocked John and I on our tushy really hard. Just want to thank you all for the well wishes and the prayers and the text and the calls. Even if I couldn't get to anybody weeks later, I'm now trying to catch up. Seems an impossible task. Thousands of emails and texts and people telling me they're going to call the police if I don't get in touch with them soon, because they have not heard from me. So for those of you out there that have also had C19 and you know what it's like, and you were able to really help with a lot of good information and suggestions and vitamins and vitamin C and nebulizer, and I'm telling you, it was rough. It was rough. It was rough being alone, not being able to really see anybody, and just try to drag myself out of bed to go to the bathroom and to try to grab some soup and drag myself into bed again. And I think John started to get on the mend once the hydrochloroquine came in, and he was able to really snap back. But it was rough. That's all I could say. It was really, really rough. A lot of people I know who've had it from last year are still having lung congestion and other things going on with their immunity. So I'm looking forward to us and anyone else who's had this to be able to get on the mend real quick and get rid of a lot of these crazy symptoms. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Truly, it just helped to heal my heart and my body with those that kept in touch and made sure I was still alive and sent me some wonderful, just some wonderful things. So again, thanks to Mia, Mike, Lisa, Carl, all of you that just, even spent the money to send some things to me and to John. Thank you so much again. I was very appreciative. I think this is a beautiful community to have reached out. Thank you again. So,
well, we're just
I
happy
wanted to really get that out and let you all know.
We're just happy to hear you guys are much better now.
Yeah. Yeah, was pretty rough.
as you cough.
I think we're happy to be much better.
Yeah. Mhm. There were a few
Hey,
times I was really worried
I'm
about.
back.
I was really worried about JC a few times. Because when this thing knocks you out and you're sleeping for hours and hours and hours, and we hadn't heard from one another, we'd be sending each other 911 texts like, "Just let me know you're alive. Are you okay?" That was, we had a few rough days there. And then there came a point where I told John I feel like I passed through the valley of the shadow of death, and really felt like we were going to be okay, because it's kind of a scary thing. So yeah. So thank you all again. Appreciate it.
Welcome back, Shaman. Oracle has a question for you.
Yeah. Who does?
Yeah, being gone for a few weeks and not being on the show live, I actually had it was a great opportunity to go through tons and tons of talk shoe, and I suggest that to everybody. Go back and listen to the rebroadcast of these shows in Jitsi, and it was really great. Even while I'm sleeping, I listened to everything, and it was so beneficial. So being sick in bed, I was able to catch up on the last few weeks of what I missed because I couldn't come on the live show. It was just too hard to kind of stay awake. So, Sean, got a question for you. As I was listening to, and I take notes pretty much of every show that I think that there's something there that's interesting. But on the last show, which was on Sunday, and there was an interesting fellow, I think his name was Paul, who came on. Anyway, Sean, you started talking about how everyone's attacking everybody. It's time for us to come together like... Did I lose you?
Nope, you're here.
No,
I hear
I'm just listening.
Okay, just hear a lot in the background. And you mentioned how everybody's kind of pissed off about everything and they're angry. And when there's anger and bitterness, it's the path of darkness. So says Yoda, who I really also like. But you did say something that I really would like some clarification on, Shawnee. I'd like to give you the opportunity to see if I missed anything about this. But you also twice had said that everybody's got their own ideas and opinions, and you have a right to tell. Although everyone does have their own ideas and opinions, you have a right to tell someone you're a dumbass. That was a bit surprising to hear that. So would you be kind enough to just elaborate on that, and what are the special circumstances surrounding that?
Well, it was for a little bit of levity, and people know my personality, know that. But yeah, I still mean it. Like if you came up and said, "Hey, Sean, I'm going to jump off this cliff and I'm going to fly," and I would say, "Darling, I don't think that's going to work out very well because you're not a bird." And you say, "I don't give a shit. Am I right?" And that's what I'll take off running. Probably go, "You're a dumbass for trying to do that." Yeah, I would think that's pretty retarded. In other words, what I was saying is you reserve the right to have an opinion, but I have a right to tell you you're incorrect or wrong. So dumbass is just another way of saying somebody's wrong. But it was just a little bit of levity anyway.
Hey, wait just a second, because this kind of reminds me of one last thing about the talk with Israel. So thank you for bringing it up. But the doctor, the good doctor that we were talking to, he actually what was that? Zelenko. He actually he said that he would not administer any COVID vaccines. And I was actually wondering about asking him if he would administer to somebody who actually asked him to, who was fully informed, fully consensual. It's like, I wish for that And that's kind of another discussion for another day, but I'm sure that he would have felt like, well, that's stupid because of how much information there is. Surprise, the government lies. So sorry. Go ahead, Joni.
Anyway, Joni, it was a joking way of just saying that.
Okay, so you.
But yeah, I think we all believe some people are dumbasses, right?
But not all of us would tell someone that they're a dumbass.
Yeah, but some people need to hear it.
Wondering under what. Some people need to hear that they're a dumbass. Okay.
Yeah, I've had to hear that a time or 10 in my life. Sean, you're being a dumbass. Stop it.
I'm one of those
you're right.
people.
I probably am being a dumbass.
I'm one of
It's
those.
probably saved my life a couple times. It's just, it's. I don't think if you're being a dumbass, you're being a dumbass. It's not really that condescending. Everybody's a dumbass sometimes. The word wouldn't exist if there wasn't people that were that way. We all do stupid stuff.
I know I wouldn't.
But basically, it's like
I wouldn't wish anyone to call me a dumbass. I think that if they're a man or a woman could find a more appropriate way to be able to let me know if I was off the mark on some way.
It's just a word.
Okay.
It's just what you're doing may not be the best thing for you. And dumbass usually comes after about 3 or 4 times telling somebody, hey, man, why don't you think about what you're doing? After a little while, it's like, why do you do that? He's a dumbass. You know, we told him 10 times not to touch it. Yeah, I don't really retract it. I think some people are dumbasses. I think some people are brilliant. I'm probably a little on the lower side of medium intellect.
Oh, of course, everybody probably knows I'm a therapist. I'm a therapist, a counselor.
To what?
I said I'm sure everyone on this program knows that I'm a therapist, a counselor, and one of the main and predominant issues that people come to see me about are words that were spoken to them that have hurt and wounded them and insulted them and absolutely changed the trajectory of their life. And that's why, for me, words are so important. That our words are either going to give life or they're going to be, there's power of life or death in our words. And I particularly, because I know that you read scripture, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one or not, but it says, and the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone, able to teach, not resentful.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go to the next one. Gently instruct those who oppose the truth or themselves. Perhaps God will change those people's hearts, and they'll be able to learn from the truth.
Well, you read scripture too, right?
I'm
you remember when the prophets of Baal?
You
remember when the prophets of Baal?
Excuse me, Sean.
Well, I just want to.
Give me a moment because my my computer's a little slow here. So the servant of the Lord must not be quarrelsome, and that to be patient and kind, that they would come to their senses and escape the trap of the devil, who has taken them captive to do his will. So I just wanted to finish. That's from 2 Timothy chapter 2, where it talks about not being quarrelsome and to be kind to people and to gently instruct them in the way that they should go. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, what I was going to say was, you remember Elijah? The prophet
I know
Elijah
in the scripture. I'm not sure, but go ahead.
Okay, well, God kept trying to instruct these people to quit chasing idols and worshiping idols and false gods. So Elijah went up on a hill and cut off 450 of the heads because they wouldn't listen, because they were being dumbasses. Yeah, there's a time to be gentle. There's a time for peace and a time for war. There's a time for love and a time for hate. In every season, there's a time. God sometimes destroys the earth. Sometimes he creates one. It's a balance.
Right. I wasn't talking to God here right now. I was talking to Sean and wondering under what circumstances that you felt that it was okay to call someone a dumbass. And you mentioned that. And I'm just going to
determined
say
do
that I
something that was
disagree with you.
absolutely retarded and harmful, and they have the right to do it. I have no right to interfere, but they ask my opinion, and I say, man, I wouldn't do that. You're going to hurt this, that, and this, and they go, well, I'm doing it anyway. I might go, I don't know, man, that's pretty friggin' retarded. Maybe you should think that through a bit. I've had people say that to me. It's corrected me. Sometimes people need to hear that. Sometimes they don't. I didn't say I'd go around telling everybody disagree with me. They were a dumbass. I just said if you have a right to get, the whole point, if I remember the context, was every time you give your opinion to someone, they're just fighting you. Like, they don't want a rebuttal. They don't wish to hear another side. It's only their way or no way. And, we all wrestle with that in general anyway. But if I remember what I said in that, that's kind of what the context was. Because everybody fights with everybody. They just disagree with them. It's automatically no friendship, defriended. Nobody talks to you. Silly. People are too temperamental.
Well, and I think personally that's one of the problems, and that's one of the problems with judging somebody for their beliefs, their ideas, their feelings. Like, nobody can tell you your beliefs, your ideas, or your feelings are wrong because they are yours. And I mean, I'll just go ahead and kind of say this. It's like, I have had COVID living with my parents, and I have had my dad call me stupid and retarded, and I don't know squat because I won't get the vaccine. Because he is trying to help me, he's trying to make sure that I'm not going to get hurt. He wishes to protect his son, to make sure that his son is here for his grandson for a long time. And so he truly believes that I'm not smart. I can't listen because I won't get the vaccine. He truly has an incredibly difficult time understanding why, after having COVID and then him asking me about it, it's like, yes, I would go through that again because it was an absolutely horrific experience. And because I feel the way I feel, I pretty much felt bad going out of my room because I could get them sick, and there's real danger, and I was never afraid of it. I was never worried about it. I never really given it much thought. And then I got it, and then it started to get bad, and then it was like, holy cow, hold on to your rocker. This is going to be a roller coaster ride.
And if I may say something, perhaps your father communicates that way because that's the way that he was taught. And I'm pretty confident in saying that your father never once rolled out of bed and, on a conscious level, conscious being just awake to your own behavioral patterns. Sorry, I'm nervous. He never rolled out of bed and said, calling my son A, B, and C is going to be harmful to him.